he said, "That's not an owlbear, that's my wife." And I was like, oh my gosh, because I realized that I had accidentally transmuted her. Yeah.
Wait, but...
Oh, no, you would Oh, God.
But you can marry owlbears.
Well, the owlbear obviously has to consent.
That's really narrow-minded, Onog.
No, I'm saying you can.
Oh, you can?
I'm not saying you
can.
Well, Onog knows because he did almost
right, I
marry
forgot about that, yeah.
one time.
Yeah, man.
Whoa.
Thomas?
Shut the up. They just made a new Bard subclass. Play the music.
Oh.
Hello, my name is Thomas the Human Bard. Welcome to the Copper Fox, and come on and take a seat and join us. I'm joined today by...
Mercy the Tiefling Wizard?
Onog the Half-Orc Barbarian?
Being the rock gnome
I put my...
Thomas, your veins are like gonna burst out of your
I put my ear pods in the wrong ears, everyone. I heard you all backwards for a second. They're replacing me. Guys, they're making a new Bard. They're replacing me.
Who's they?
No one's replacing you.
Oh, I've had a line of auditions. Oh, okay.
He doesn't need to know about the audition.
Guys,
Who's made a new Bard?
I can feel it happening. Jeremy Crawford. He's changing the Bard. It's making...
Thomas is changing before our eyes.
Changing.
Why, hello there, chops. It's me, Thomas the Human Bard.
Oh, no.
On today's episode,
He's an Irish Korra.
He's an Irish Mario.
I mean, I guess this is only playtest material. You know, there's some things to work out.
There's some kinks to work
Yeah.
out.
we're going to talk about 1D&D. Yahoo! Me pot the gold.
Okay,
Mamma
I'm
mia.
gonna send some feedback real quick so that we don't have to deal with this for the rest of the episode. I'm just gonna say, dear Jeremy, the voice
Your skin
was
is so
a bit
smooth
much.
and undetailed,
Can we take about 20 to 25% off of that? Thank you. Mercy. Send.
I'm back.
Oh, thank God.
Mercy, thank you. I mean, you didn't have to send. He's right. He's sitting right there. He's on every episode.
Yeah, but I like to go through the official channels.
Okay, well, that is fair. And speaking of which,
Yeah, because...
You know, lawful good.
Yeah.
if you are following the 1D&D playtest material, you should go through the official channels. There is a survey that is either just ended or is ending soon for the first 1D&D playtest that came out, Character Origins, and there will be a new survey for the one we're going to cover today coming out soon, and that is what they look at for feedback. So please fill out those surveys with all the thoughts that you have, listeners, if you want to be part of making the future of D&D.
If you don't know what to say, just write what we say in this episode.
No, have your own thoughts.
No,
Jeremy's already heard
mindless-
everything from this episode. He's right here.
Just mindlessly copy every one of our opinions. What they are obviously right.
Roll a d4. The numbers correspond to the order we
We'll
say our
make a
names.
table.
and
We'll
then
make a table for
copy
what
one
to
of our
put on the
opinions.
survey.
Yeah. So, there's no credits at the beginning of this document, but I'm assuming it's most of the same creators that we've had, Jeremy Crawford and company, working on this 1D&D Unearthed Arcana playtest. Today's episode...
No one made it. It just showed up. It just showed up in the office one day.
It manifested itself. On today's episode, we're covering the expert classes, specifically the Bard.
So is this like a new way to do bards in general, or is this a new subclass of bard?
These are replacement rules for the Bard class.
Oh.
So these are supposedly playtest rules for the next version of D&D and how they will handle how bards work in that game.
So
Okay.
presented here is the Bard class as it is like a basic class, and then one example subclass is given, the College of Lore. And this is supposed to be sort of a preview into their design philosophies going forward with these classes. More subclasses that they're updating will be in future Unearthed Arcanas. So there will still be multiple subclasses for every single class, but they've only got one per class here as an example.
Let's go ahead and explain what the deal is with the class group :expert is.
Yeah, I'll pull that up. It's at the beginning.
You know,
Classic colon.
if you have a group colon, you really should see your doctor.
Okay.
Gross.
Class group. Each class is a member of a class group, a set of classes that have certain features and themes in common. The class groups table lists the groups and summarizes characteristics the members of a group have in common. There are 4 class groups: the expert group, the mage group, the priest group, and the warrior group. So in the experts group are the bard, the ranger, and the rogue. Their characteristics are that they're polymaths who have the expertise feature and elements of other classes.
The polymaths, listen, what they do in their bedrooms on their own time is none of my business.
So what you're saying is there are 4 group-based genders.
The mages have the sorcerer, the warlock, and the wizard. They're adepts of arcane magic, focusing on utility and destruction. The priests are clerics, druids, and paladins. Stewards of divine or primal magic, focused on healing, utility, and defense. And warriors are barbarians, fighters, and monks, and they're masters of combat who can deal and endure many wounds.
This sounds a lot like original D&D, how you basically could just be like a mage, a fighter, or a thief.
In I think it was like in 2nd edition, I think they specifically used these titles for these groups, like experts, mages, priests, and warriors. I think it's like drawing from earlier editions for those names.
I'm a little iffy on the monk being a warrior instead of in the priest class.
Oh, see, I would have thought of them as an expert.
Oh, I would definitely say warrior. I think some of the linguistic issue there is the idea of like a Catholic monk versus like a Kung Fu movie monk.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, monks...
I presumed both were just as religious.
Ancient European monks also wrote a lot about, like, weaponry and fighting.
Ancient European monks also knew Kung Fu. A lot of people don't know that. A class group has no rules in itself, but prerequisites and other rules can refer to these groups. For example, only members of the mage group might be able to attune to a particular magic item, or a feat might only be available to members of the warrior group. And then there's a tip that when creating a party, try to have someone from each group if you want a well-rounded party. But you don't have to do that,
I really like this because I feel like this as a concept solidifies the unspoken thing you understand, where it's like if you're trying to put together a balanced party for long-term campaign, you might be like, oh, do we have anyone who can do magic in the group? Do we have anyone who can tank? Do we have a healer? And so by grouping it in this way officially, I think that can just kind of streamline that and gives you a way to understand it. And it lays it out for you so that when you're starting the game for the first time, you can already see that that's how that works. You don't have to figure it out.
I mean, whenever I've had newer players who are like, I don't know anything about, like, I always say, well, do you want to be fighty, sneaky, or magicy, or do you want to be like sneaky fighty, or like I always...
Do you want to be slippery, chunky, or spicy? We have the 3 already.
Yeah.
And now so there's the 4th, which is, I guess, religious.
There's slippery, chonky, spicy, and zealot.
And crusader.
But I think having these as like general topics is a good way to introduce people to basic concepts of play.
Yeah.
And like they said, like making sure your party is balanced.
And one of the really good things about it is future-proofing for classes going forward. Instead of having to say this item can only be attuned by wizards and sorcerers and warlocks, and then being like, oh, well, we created the artificer class. We have to go back and write that into everyone that makes sense. It says this can be attuned by the expert group. So any class that ever comes out will get one of these groups. And then retroactively, all the things that apply to that group will apply to that new class as well.
That makes integrating homebrew classes way smoother, where you don't run into every 5 minutes going, I don't know if this applies to me or not.
You can say my new homebrew class is in the priest group. So if there's a magic item that says can only be attuned by priest group classes, it works with it. It slots right in, which I really, really like.
It'll be interesting to see what this does to the utility of multi-classing into classes of different groups.
That will be interesting. Well, let's get started into the Bard already. Do we need to take a quick sponsor break before we continue?
Oh yeah.
We do. We're not actually sponsored. I am plugging this of my own free will, but for the last few years,
Tony, play the sponsor music.
So we are not actually sponsored. I am plugging this of my own free will. No one is forcing me. My brother has been for years working on a video game that has just launched its Kickstarter. It is called Ourath. It is a single-player game about growth, discovery, and decision-making. The art is incredible. The story is fantastic. He's really poured his heart and soul into this, and I selfishly really want everyone to go support it because I want to play this game as soon as possible. So I need all of you to click the link in our description, support Ourath as much as you can, share it with your friends. Just a little bit of engagement, spreading the word goes a long way. If you or anyone you know cares about and wants to support indie games, definitely check it out. And we will update you as things progress with Ourath, because I'm very excited to play it. So please,
so cool.
please support this game so I can play this video game. Thank you.
I don't think people, I mean, many people know because they do this, but a lot of people don't know that making a video game is really hard. Like, all the decisions and programming.
Especially
and
when you're mostly doing it literally
pathways.
as like a one person.
Yeah, the number of hours that for years he has poured into this, I can't imagine being that committed to working hard on anything for that long. I'm wildly impressed.
We've been
very
running this
cool.
channel for like 4 years.
And we're so consistent at posting in a timely manner.
Tony,
I mean,
cut
this
the
is like
music.
This is the first Unearthed Arcana we're gonna get out in a timely manner, like, at all.
True.
How dare you? I do.
Well,
my
we're still on our sponsor break. I just want to say, because I'm so excited, we have finally
Oh,
reached
Tony,
1,000.
put the music back on. Sorry.
We have finally reached 1,000 subscribers, which is so cool. We've like broken that mold, and I just cannot thank our like fans. I don't know, it feels weird to say. The community. Like, I cannot thank everyone enough, and it's so cool to have that many people who listen to the show, reading comments of people being like, oh, it's always a good week when a Copper Fox Inn episode drops, is always like, it's just really
It
amazing.
It means a lot.
It make me cry
I
every time.
can't imagine.
Like
I'm
the video, make
picturing
Thomas cry.
1,000 people like listening to us say dumb shit. Like, that's crazy.
All right, Tony, cut the
cool.
music.
Well, no, because now that we have broken 1,000 subscribers, we can get a sponsor, which is why this episode is brought to you by Rage Shadow.
We have to.
No, it's no.
we are
They
not
did. They
legal.
didn't
We
get back to us.
cannot.
They did.
I figured as soon as we reached 1,000 subscribers, they were gonna.
No.
Yeah, the money must just start
No.
flowing in. No, it doesn't.
No,
Okay.
they have not returned any of your calls. I'm
They actually
sorry.
blocked your number.
To be fair, we
That's-
also have not reached out to Rage.
No, and I don't think.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is a bit.
Yeah, I don't think we
You guys
would
ever
do
heard of a
sponsor-
bit? It's like where we do jokes.
It's the thing jongleurs do a
Look,
lot of.
Look, we're real jongleurs here on this channel. Tony, cut the music. Back to the subclass. I'm chomping at the bit over here. I'm sweating out my ears. Bard, class group, expert, primary ability, charisma.
I knew you were gonna say it was. C.
Me too. I was like hearing it in my
Dang
head.
it, I've become predictable. Invoking magic through music, dance, and verse, bards are expert at inspiring others, soothing hurts, disheartening foes, and creating illusions. Bards believe that the creators of the multiverse spoke and signed it into existence, and that remnants of those words of creation still resound and glimmer on every plane of existence. The magic of bards is an attempt to harness those words, which transcend any language, and direct them to create new wonders. Almost anything can inspire a new song or tale, so bards are fascinated by almost everything. They have a wide-ranging knowledge of many subjects and develop an aptitude to do almost anything well. Bards become masters of many things, including musical performance, the workings of magic, and the formation of jests, which of course you listeners all know. No, I mean, you've listened to me, you know how good I am at forming jests. Not every singer or poet in a tavern or jester in a royal court is a bard with a capital B. Harnessing the words of creation requires hard work and some measure of natural talent that most troubadours and jongleurs lack. It can sometimes be hard to spot the difference between these performers and bards, though. A bard's life is spent wandering across the land, gathering lore, telling stories, and living on the gratitude of audiences, much like any other entertainer. But bards' depth of knowledge, level of musical skill, and mastery of magic sets them apart.
All right.
Not a bit.
Very
There's
cool.
not really any changes there as far as lore goes. It's pretty much the same.
I don't know. You pointed out that this said the bards were funny, so like that, based on my experience with you, like it seems like that's
a big upgrade.
That's a change.
I think
Roasted.
I've never heard the word jongleurs. I don't know what that means.
Did I just cast cunning words?
Dang. Creating a bard. To create a bard, consult the following lists, which provide...
When a mommy bard and a daddy bard.
Oh, Nog.
Damn.
You know they don't have to love each other.
Oh, gosh. Now you made me sad.
Look, any two bards can make...
They'll find a way.
They'll make it work. Which provide hit points, proficiencies, and armor training. Armor training is underlined. Armor training is the new way to say armor proficiency. That's it.
Words mean things, I guess.
If you're making a first level character, also consult the starting equipment section. And if you're using the multiclassing rules, see the multiclassing and the bard section. Then look at the bard table to see the class features you get at each level in this class. The descriptions of those features appear in the bard class feature section. So let's really dive into this now, get into that nitty gritty. Hit points. Hit dice, 1d8 per bard level. Hit points at first level, 8 plus your constitution modifier.
Normal.
Hit points per level after the first, 1d8 or 5 plus your constitution modifier.
Normal.
Okay, keeping that all the same. We're not giving bards a higher hit die or a lower hit die. We're keeping them how they were. Proficiencies, saving throws, dexterity and charisma. Skills, deception, performance, persuasion, or any 3 skills of your choice.
Okay.
So what that translates to is any 3 skills of your choice.
So I actually really like that. Throughout this document, it will present you up front the 3 or the choices, and then it will say, or you choose your own. And the thing I personally like about it is when you are new to the game, it says any 3 skills of your choice. If it doesn't give you some idea of which ones would be the normal ones to take, quote unquote,
You won't have a frame of reference.
yeah, you'll feel lost, aimless. You won't have guidance on where to move with your character. And, you know, there's not too many skills in the game, but there's a few of them. And then later on with things like spell lists, there's so many spells that giving some up front is just like, hey, probably just take this one. Unless you know what you're doing and you want to pick a different thing, go for it. But really, take some of the work away of like, I don't want to have to read through the entire spell book just to become level 3. Like,
Yeah, that's actually really nice.
it is really nice.
For approachability.
For that new player approachability, without taking away anything from players who already know what they want. They
But
don't
if it's
have to
more
take.
accessible to other people, then I don't feel better than them anymore.
Mercy, I've been meaning to talk to you about your gatekeeping problems.
I'm just
I
girl
mean,
bossing.
also, even if you are an old player, sometimes you need to make a character like on the fly and really quickly, and just again having those same guides. You know, sitting down and realizing like, wow, we already have 2 tanks. Maybe I just need to make like another character really quickly. And I know some people don't do this, but sometimes you make a character on the fly, and being able to just go boom, 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 and not have to think about it too much is very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Weapons. Simple weapons. Notably, simple weapons now includes short swords. Short swords are now considered a simple weapon.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also-
Because every time in the normal version they would give people simple weapons proficiency, they would also give them short swords because they had to clarify that.
But also, you'll notice rapier is missing.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's been the classical sort of bard sword.
the swashbuckling.
It's always
bard.
like simple weapons and also rapier for some reason. But just simple weapons now.
That's interesting because, yeah, like the rapier is like this fast-talking, swarthy swashbuckler. So is that they're feeding that into rogue
Yeah, but that's
and
if you
fighter?
want that, you have to go into a rogue.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
possibly do something like the College of Swords bard, which may end up giving
Right.
it to you later anyway.
That's fair. That's fair.
So we'll see.
I mean, historically, a rapier is actually like one of the harder swords to learn how to fight with. And so just being like, bards aren't fighty inherently. And so saying,
Sure.
well, if you want to be a swashbuckler or like going the fighty direction might give you expertise in that. But I have actually often been bothered by the fact that bards just sort of inherently know how to use a rapier when they're just often like sing-song people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
This is
was
personal preference.
born with a silver rapier in my mouth, okay?
Wow.
I'm a sword swallower. I'm a performer.
It's a family tradition.
Yeah. Tools, 3 musical instruments of your choice. Armor training, light armor. Starting equipment. As a first level character, you start with the following equipment. Or you can forgo it and spend 100 gold pieces on equipment of your choice. So, yet again, here is the equipment, but if you know what you're doing, you're allowed to have different equipment if you want to. The suggested equipment here is dagger, entertainer's pack, leather armor, a musical instrument, a short sword, and 18 gold pieces left over. That's fine. Yeah, good starting equipment.
Nice.
I like the equalization throughout of it's always 100 gold pieces worth of equipment. Everybody gets that. They can spend it on what they want. That's flavorful for their class. If you want to just start the game with nothing and 100 gold pieces in your pocket, you can do that. Whatever you're
But you
feeling.
will be naked.
That's a very good way of,
Equalizing. the
Equalizing.
Yeah,
the
it puts
beginning.
everyone on the same footing instead of picking classes and backgrounds and stuff based on starting with the most gold to buy plate armor the fastest. That kind of stuff.
Well, and often you're starting off with I don't know why I wouldn't have rope. Are you kidding? I should be able to have
Or
rope.
or like an entertainer's pack is useless to me. I will buy this pack.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
How am I supposed to go about my day without 1,000 ball bearings? That's what I always think to myself.
The next section is multi-classing and the bard, and it's not any different really from normal multi-classing how it works. So I'm actually just going to kind of skip over it because it's a lot to say. Yeah, multi-classing, like how it works in normally, pretty much.
We can skip stuff.
We
that's
want to get to the
same
good
mostly.
stuff, like the Bard class features. As a Bard, you gain the following class features. When you reach the specified levels in this class, these features are listed on the Bard table. First level, Bardic Inspiration! Ba, 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 ba.
Wow.
So these are some big changes. Y'all ready for this? Bah, bah, bah. You can supernaturally inspire others through words, music, or dance.
Oh yeah, that is different because I've actually never felt inspired by one of your words, music, or dances.
What is this? What is this energy, Mercy?
Mean Thomas.
I am
against
uncomfortable
Thomas
with the
energy.
energy you've brought to the studio today.
She sets it up so perfectly.
This inspiration is represented by your Bardic Inspiration die, which is a D6. I hope you Bardic Inspiration die. Using Bardic
You're just gonna move on?
using
that
Bardic
was-
Inspiration. You can use your Bardic Inspiration die in the following ways. Boost a D20 test. When another creature within 60 feet of you that you can see or hear fails a D20 test, you can use your reaction to give that creature a Bardic Inspiration die. The creature rolls that die and adds the number rolled to the D20, potentially turning a failure into a success. So instead of a bonus action, it is now a reaction, and only when somebody fails a check, you then do it. And it's just on D20 tests. Oh, so it's all D20 tests includes all three saving throws, attack rolls, and ability checks.
So it helps with the normal things, but it's only when you fail.
Yeah, only if they fail, you respond by saying, "Try again, Johnny!" And
But it eats up your reaction instead of your bonus action.
I mean, it's kind of trade-offs because before the other person got to decide when they used it. So it could be maybe that they were going to succeed already, but then they wanted to just give it that little bit of extra juice.
But they weren't sure, yeah.
But there's always that sucky moment of oh, I'll use my inspiration, and then you roll a 19, and you're like, well, I guess I've I should have saved this. For another time.
Yeah, or it's like you rolled a 16 and you're like, oh, I don't know if I need to use my inspiration, and the check was 15.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this gives the bard that great feeling of don't worry, you can do it's coming in and saving the day.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that makes the bard less passive in terms of inspiration too, because that's the thing that I have not loved when playing a bard, is that it feels like you just give out the inspiration not in the heat of the moment, and then they just choose to use your class ability when they want to, and it doesn't feel like I'm doing something.
And you know what? This also completely removes the possibility of them forgetting that they have it.
Yes, and that is so annoying too, where you use your class ability to give it to someone and they don't even remember it's there.
It's impossible to do that now.
That's why you need a funny hat every time someone has inspiration.
True.
The other thing this resolves is the awkward moment at the end of the bard's turn that has happened every time I think I've ever played with a bard, where they go, "Oh right, who needs inspiration?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Where they just sit there, they stop everything that they're doing.
The flow
and
completely
go,
slows down.
who should I give this to?
And that
Who
even
needs it
feels
more?
passive because you have to ask
Yeah.
the other people how you should
There
use
is.
your ability.
The problem I do have with this though is then it now, instead of like being a bonus action that you can do on your turn, it is now a reaction. And that means that the bard's reaction is taken up. You know what I mean? It's like they will not be able to do reactions for anything else if this is what's going on.
Lots of other classes have whole abilities that revolve around reactions,
Oh,
though.
well, of course.
That's
For
what-
sure.
That's what I'm just saying.
It's
It's like
definitely, though,
they're
I get
dealing
what-
with a dilemma that other people deal with.
I get what you're saying, though, Onog, where it's like every turn that you have a Bardic Inspiration left in your backpack to use, and one of your teammates fails a D20 test, everyone will immediately just look at you and be like, so are you going to fix it or what?
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like now everyone's failures are your problems.
Yeah.
And if you had other abilities, like I know in the Dungeon Masters or in the current player's handbook, the Lore Bard was special because they had something that they could use. They had cutting words that they could use their reaction on. So now if this is the same function, they can't cutting words and also help someone, whereas before they could help someone and cutting words. You know what I mean? Or they could give inspiration and counterspell. Whereas now, if that's
have
the
to
only
pick.
thing you're doing, you can't do any of those tactics.
Yeah,
That's a good
for
point.
sure.
Everyone's just going to start talking about the meta knowledge of, okay, they failed this test. Do we think that they failed by a factor of roughly between 1 and 6?
Do we think it's a roughly a 6-point swing on that?
Like, oh, the barbarian couldn't kick the door down.
Yeah.
Does it seem like he missed it by a factor of, on average, 3.5?
That's going to feel
Is
so
D6
annoying as a
gonna
DM
fix
where
this?
you don't, like, how do you deal with that communication in a way that's not lame?
Definitely. There's another aspect, though, completely new to the Bardic Inspiration. Heal. Immediately after another creature within 60 feet of you that you can see or hear takes damage, you can use your reaction to roll your Bardic Inspiration die and restore a number of hit points to the creature equal to the number rolled.
That's dope.
Well, and I feel like
That's
what
very
that
good.
really is really that saying to bring them back from unconscious, bring them back from 0, because
That means every player in your party is a little bit of an orc, because
It
as long as they die within 60 feet of you and you have inspiration left,
They'll come
they
back.
have relentless endurance. Yeah.
because especially at higher levels, it is not worth using your inspiration to give
a
someone
random
3 hit
hit.
points.
Yeah.
But it is super worth it to bring them back from 0.
It makes me think of in Darkest Dungeon, the what's it, Death Bell or Death's Door mechanic, where it's like you'll go down to 0, but technically there's always a chance you just stay at 0 or stay at 1 hit point
you
and
stay
keep
alive,
going
yeah.
forward. And it's like if your bard is nearby, as long as they have Bardic Inspiration left to use, you can't go to 0. They'll just say, no, you don't. Come back. You'll get between 1 and 6 hit points. You're back up on your feet, which feels great as a support bard. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
you become
mean-
super reliable in that use case.
It's also nice because I'm playing a bard in another campaign, and it's a slightly lower. It's not super low level, but it's a little bit on the lower level side. And I was like, oh, I don't want anyone to get hurt, so I picked a lot of healing spells. And then I was like, I can't really do anything else though, any other bardy type of stuff, because
You loaded
You
up on
spent it
I
all
loaded
on
up on
healing
healing spells,
spells.
and then I had to talk to the DM and be like, actually, I want to change this out for like Disguise Self and like other stuff.
You're
because
gonna
I'm not
like some
really-
of the later features here, Bean.
I'm not really getting to be the kind of bard that I want. And so just knowing that in the back of your mind, you pretty much always have the ability to heal someone if they're like brought to 0, that would free you up to at lower levels not just rely on having to have healing spells all the time.
Yeah. So there is one other really interesting note here. So both of these say a creature that you can see or hear, whereas I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, currently Bardic Inspiration is if they can hear you.
Yeah, that I think that might be a oversight. At least I think It's you have to be able to see them and they have to be able to hear you.
Maybe. I'm interested to see if that's on purpose or if that's like a miswording or something, because it
I
does
think that
very
might be
much change
holdovers
it.
from other abilities.
Because if they are deafened right now in D&D, my current Bardic Inspiration like doesn't work on them. Like they can't hear my Bardic Inspiration. But in this, as long as I can see and hear them, it doesn't matter that they're deafened.
Because the idea of it is that the bard is singing a song or playing an instrument, and then you hear it and are inspired by it. So it's often like, even if the bard is being drug away and they're drug around a corner, and at the last second they sing a song and the rest of the players hear it and one of them's inspired and can go rescue them, like,
Yeah.
that's the idea. But technically, is inspiration a spell that you're casting at someone, which
It's-
usually spells that you need to be able to see.
It's very much
hear the
changing
person.
the kind of like actor and actee involved in the, because just as much as saying like you do it on your reaction and like do it for them, as opposed to you give it to them and then they choose when to use it. It's very much putting you much more in control and as much more of the active participant there.
I wonder if it is an error specifically because it says that you can see or hear. Because normally most spells say that you can see, just see, and the hearing applies to bards because they're hearing your music.
Like,
Yeah.
So
why,
that
why
doesn't
would
really
the
make
bard
sense.
need to hear someone else? Why would they need to hear them?
Yeah, it does feel like
It's
one.
interesting. We'll have to see. They may provide some feedback on it, but let's move forward. Number of uses a Bardic Inspiration die is expended when it is rolled. You can confer a Bardic Inspiration die a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus.
No!
And
They
you-
can't keep getting away with it.
And you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. At higher levels, your Bardic Inspiration die changes when you reach certain levels in this class, as shown on the Bardic die column of the Bard table. The die becomes a D8 at 5th level, a D10 at 10th level, and a D12 at 15th level. It get bigger, and also, it's now tied to proficiency instead of your charisma modifier.
So my opinion on this thing, because we've really liked them adding proficiency bonus abilities tied to proficiency bonus on the races, because it doesn't force a character or a player to send their character in a specific direction based on their race. But I feel like that can be thrown away with when you get to classes, because you are choosing to go into a specific direction.
Yeah, you're not a low charisma bard ever.
Yeah, it's like I think there should be mechanical reasons other than just having your spell DC be higher. There should be mechanical reasons for you to increase your charisma. And currently, as it stands in the player's handbook, the main thing for the bard is you are incentivized to increase your charisma so you get more Bardic Inspiration faster. But if it's just tied to your proficiency bonus, you as a player have no feasible way of improving this ability. It is always going to be locked in at something no matter what decisions you make. And I feel like for a race, that's very good. But for a class where you are specifically building your character in the way you want to build them, I feel like that's not as engaging.
Well, and given that we're
Interesting.
getting rid of a lot of the stuff for good reason that kind of went along with races before, we want to be able to kind of compensate for that through the specific like building block malleability that is in other things. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the motivation behind changing races is good and is there, but it is not the same motivation that comes with other stuff.
It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it yet. As a bard, for me, I don't know how much it changes how I would want to play a bard. The only thing is that at early levels, the only real difference is that I will have less Bardic Inspirations at early levels.
You will always have less. The way the math works out, you will always have less.
But also, I don't have to have committed so hard to charisma. Does that help me in any way? I don't know. Is that trade-off, and does it end up being worth it? Do I feel like I must have 18 charisma as a level 1 bard, or else I've done it wrong? I don't feel that way anymore. Did I feel that way so much to begin with? Maybe a little bit. It depends, I guess, on if you were point buying or rolling for stats. If you were rolling for stats, you know, you want to be a bard, you'll just put your whatever your highest one is. If you're point buying for stats, if you wanted to be a bard, there were so many things built off your charisma. There was no reason to justify having a charisma lower than 18 at level 1. Because it's just where all of your stuff comes from. Why wouldn't you choose to do that? So
And if you want to have low charisma, why are you a bard?
Exactly.
You know?
So it's like, it frees it up based on kind of how you assume people create their characters as the default. If they're planning on point buy being the default character creation going forward, this might make more sense as a way to say, look, you don't have to lock into you must do 18. You could get away with 16. If you want to split it up and be a little tougher, put it into Constitution or something, you could get away with that and then get those points later on. But if you're assuming people are doing rolling for stats, it doesn't, like, you're just going to put your highest one there. It might as well tie it to charisma, because why not? It's interesting. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not sold on it yet. I have some concerns similar to yours, Onog, but I'm also willing to, like, see how it plays. You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to, maybe it will work smoother than I think it will. All right. First level ability. Finally, we're making some progress in this document. Spell casting. I don't know if you guys knew this, but bards can cast spells. I've never once cast one, but theoretically I could. You have learned to cast spells through your bardic arts. See the player's handbook for the rules on spellcasting.
What about Arctic
Bards?
Arctic Bards?
I went to a bardic arts college. The information below details how you use those rules as a bard. Prepared spells.
Ooh.
You have the following spells prepared: Color Spray, Disguise Self, Prestidigitation, and Vicious Mockery. Alternatively, you can prepare 2 0-level spells and 2 1st-level spells of your choice. Any spell you prepare for this class must be an arcane spell, and it must be from one of the following schools of magic: divination, enchantment, illusion, or transmutation. Let's pause it right there real quick. So, currently in the game, bards are known spellcasters, not prepared spellcasters. So this is a change for them to become prepared. Prepared means that every day they can swap out what spells they have ready to go. Originally, bards, once you learned a spell, you were stuck with that spell forever, more or less.
Onog and I were actually kind of having a big debate about this, because he was telling me that more and more classes were just going to be more, if not all.
I'm pretty sure based on this document,
It's
all
looking like it
spellcasters are
might
going to
be
become
all of
prepared
them, yeah.
casters.
We're going to become prepared, and I was like, oh, that's great, because so often when you're playing a I don't tend to play spellcaster, so I'm not as knowledgeable about this, but so often when you're playing a spellcaster, like a sorcerer or something, like you have this moment of like, man, the group of spells I picked is like not really helping, or like
Which bolt isn't really working out
like
for
it's just
me.
like this is,
What
or
bolt?
or even just like this isn't the vibe, whichever one you want. But having the ability to go, I'm going to swap this out because this didn't really work, or be able to prepare, like, because again,
It's like, God darn, I took Blade Ward.
or not just, darn, I took Blade Ward, but, we're going to be going to this place, so I'm going to make myself more useful, because there's nothing sucks more than feeling like I can't really do anything. Like, I'm
Nothing
not
sucks more than
helpful.
being a pyromancer and going into a red dragon's lair.
Or being a pyromancer and then learning that the campaign is mostly political intrigue. And you're like,
Yeah.
I guess I won't be blowing up a
Look,
lot of people.
I don't think there's a better place for a pyromancer to be.
King, I know that your nephew's in love with you and now wants to overthrow your throne, but can you do this?
Sorry, we blew up your mom, Ricky.
That's interesting. I think you're right that they are moving towards prepared, which, as somebody who mostly plays casters, I don't know if I like that for a couple of reasons. For one thing, I literally think that especially at higher levels and with classes that have more spell slots or more spells they can prepare each day, it just slows you down
It becomes a slog when you have
fair
to
enough.
prepare 30 different spells.
It does. And then the other reason is that I think limitations are good to a degree, and I find that it is more I think it can be more narratively satisfying to say I'm a pyromancer and commit to that and just do that and have signature spells.
Yeah.
Because
Like,
I think
yeah.
that's cooler. Like I find in the campaign we've been playing for like 6 years where I'm a druid that it is always cooler and more fun for the whole group at the table when I do something really cool with Moonbeam, because that's my signature move since I was a baby spellcaster, than when I use the cool new spell I just learned. I just think it's more fun when it's tied to your character. Like, this is the kind of magic I do. This is a spell I've been practicing our whole campaign. I just think that builds roleplay a little more strongly, and then it also just streamlines it because it just takes a long time to look through all the spells you have available. And I feel like that is such a huge difference than like a fighter going from one long rest to the next, where it's like there's nothing to think about, where it feels a little imbalanced to me in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Going
almost too. I almost think prepared casting might be a little bit broken.
We'll see. We'll see how much they talk about some of that later on. So I want to keep moving through because they will address some of those points in the document, and I want to see our comments on how they address those points.
But just to clarify, we all got Mercy's take of no one should be a prepared caster.
Yeah. Mercy thinks everyone should be known casters. Honestly, she
maybe.
believes in Vancian magic. She thinks we should go back. You have to memorize the spell, and then once you cast it once, it's gone. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can practice your bardic arts.
Your Arctic Bards?
I know. It's why do I want to say Arctic Bards every time?
It's just Bart from The Simpsons, like in the snow.
Your bardic arts, and replace any spell you have prepared for this class with another arcane spell of the same level, abiding by the school restrictions above. At higher levels in this class, you can prepare more spells, as shown on the bard table. The numbers there determine the number of different spells you can prepare at each level. For example, as a 3rd level bard, you can prepare 2 different 0 level spells, 4 different 1st level spells, and 2 different 2nd level spells. Consult the Prepared Bard Spells section for recommendations on which spells to prepare at higher levels. A spell marked with a dagger in that section is always prepared and can't be replaced when you prepare spells. Those are ones you get later on in the class that you can't replace them. They're just always prepared. They don't really count against your known or prepared spells or whatever it is.
Oh, wait, but so they're splitting up prepared spells, though. It's not just carte blanche, you can just pick whatever spells that are within the levels that you know. It's saying here, you can only prepare 2 2nd level spells. Did I read that right?
Oh.
So it's
It
currently how
Yeah.
prepared casters work is if I can cast 3rd level spells, I can prepare as many 3rd level spells as I
Right.
want.
I could
can only
prepare.
cast 3 3rd level spells, but I can choose to prepare any number I want.
No, it
This
looks
is
Why
like
doesn't everyone just prepare all the spells then?
Well, no, you can only prepare a limited number.
So like maybe I
based
can
on-
Oh, sorry,
prepare
I thought you said
15
that you could
total,
prepare.
but they could all be 8th level if I
They
wanted.
could all be 3rd level spells, and I just wouldn't be able to cast 1st or 2nd level spells. That is a
Okay.
foolish thing to do, but a thing you could choose to do nonetheless.
Okay.
Whereas
got it,
now
got it,
it's
got it.
like once you have 4 1st level prepared spells, you can never have
can't prepare
more
any
than
more
that
1st level spells.
1st level prepared spells going forward. It's always
Interesting.
going to be your maximum number of 1st level spells you can have prepared for a day is 4.
So this is actually kind of almost
Interesting.
returning to Vancian magic a little bit.
It is.
It's like a
it's
pseudo
weird
step
throwback.
back.
I don't know. I kind of like it because I think it takes a little bit out of what Mercy was talking about of being overwhelmed with, well, how many of each one do I want to take? Do I want to bump a few up from 1st level to have 3 more 3rd level spells? Or
You need
it's like,
some
I just
restriction.
need 2 3rd levels. I'll just look through the list and pick 2 that I like. The end. Like, I know how many I need. That's interesting.
It just it's like gives you swapsies, basically.
Yeah, it gives you swapsies. Consult the, I just did that. Spell slots. The Bard table shows how many spell slots you have at each level to cast your Bard spells at 1st level or higher. The number of different spells you can prepare for each level equals the number of spell slots you have at that level. For example, as a 5th level Bard, you have 4 1st level spell slots, 3 2nd level spell slots, and 2 3rd level spell slots. Okay. Sure, whatever. Spellcasting ability. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for your bard spells. Spellcasting focus. You can use a musical instrument as a spellcasting focus for the spells you prepare for this class. Second level ability. Expertise. You gain expertise in 2 of your skill proficiencies of your choice. Performance and persuasion are iconic choices for a bard if you have proficiency in them. So right there, if you don't want to think about this, I just told you what they are. Do those ones. That'll make you feel like a bard. If you want to do something else, you're welcome to.
I find it interesting because previously they've just assigned it and then said, but you can do something else if you want to. And this one they went, these are iconic choices. Like they
These
just
are the
sort of were like,
iconic choices.
they just basically passive aggressively told you to take them.
These
Like, if you
are
want to be
actually
cool,
the best
do these
ones.
ones.
Only someone who's stupid would do a different. So expertise, as they said kind of at the top, that's what defines the expert class grouping. They always get expertise. So bards, rangers, and rogues now all get expertise at some point in their character class.
That is interesting to note that that's something that was sort of added as in the current version of D&D. It was added to Rangers after the fact with Tasha's Hideous Cauldron of all the stuff.
Yeah.
As an optional rule. So it's kind of interesting now that they're seeing how popular that choice was. And now it's like, that's just how Rangers are forever now.
It is kind of like...
I think they kind of found the niche for the ranger and went, maybe that's what it'll be now, and then committed to it.
5th edition Rangers had the problem and expertise was the solution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see, I guess, once we review the ranger if it
The
solved it or not.
solution is done.
Second level, Songs of Restoration. You have learned how to use music, poetry, and dance to heal wounds and maladies.
It's not wounds and maladies?
Maladies. When you reach certain levels in this class,
Throw you out a window.
you add a specific spell to your Songs of Restoration repertoire, as shown on the Songs of Restoration repertoire table. You always have that spell prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. So at 2nd level, you get Healing Word. At 4th level, you get Lesser Restoration. At 6th level, you get Mass Healing Word. At 8th level, Freedom of Movement. And at 10th level, Greater Restoration.
Nice. This is so good.
So what you were talking about, Bean, was like, I feel tied down, like I have to take some healing spells or else I'm not going
to be helpful.
I'm not going to be helpful, but that means I don't get to take other cool spells that I want to take. They kind of went, yeah, we feel that. Bards are often kind of cornered into being a support character, so you'll just get some free support spells so you can do that without taking away your ability to learn other spells. You just get these ones for free.
And there's other kinds of support spells.
Yeah.
But the most obvious ones are healing. And then especially if you like don't have a really obvious healer, like there's not a cleric in your group, then it kind of becomes delegated to you. So then you're like, well, now I'm not a bard. I'm kind of just a cleric that sings.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But
It is interesting to note. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I really like this because as someone who's played a bard, a support bard, specifically a very healing bard, these are the bard available spells that already sort of feel like they make sense, because Healing Word is about saying healing things that if people can hear you from far away, they get healed. And even like
Ibuprofen.
Your dad is proud of you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, son. But even also the Lesser Restoration and Greater Restoration, they are like about taking away levels of exhaustion or removing curses and things like that. And it's so like you can uplift your friends. It's not just cure wounds, I touch you and your bones knit back together. They're still in the flavor of like, I played you a beautiful song and I looked into your eyes and said I believed in you, and you continued being able to fight. And I just like that a lot. I think that flavoring is very good.
So this is already a much better, I think, ability, like a class feature than the thing it's replacing, Song of Rest.
Yep.
Because that's the one where it's like when people take a short rest, if they use a hit die, they can add a random sized hit die or a random sized dice to what they heal, which usually comes to once per short rest, somebody can heal 3 hit points, and at early forms of the game, it's fine and helpful. In later versions of the game, that is negligible at best.
Bard stands up to do their special thing, and it sucks.
And it doesn't matter to anyone. Yeah,
And it doesn't really do
help.
anything.
Doesn't do
or
anything.
if nobody used their hit dice and they all just healed with potions or spells, then it still doesn't do anything.
The next ability, 3rd level, Bard subclass. You gain the College of Lore subclass. Or another Bard subclass of your choice. The College of Lore is detailed after the Bard's description, and other subclasses will appear in future Unearthed Arcana articles. A subclass is a specialization that grants you special abilities at certain Bard levels. You know what a subclass is. I trust in you. It's not different.
This was also at the same breaking point that bards normally get their subclass too. They haven't changed that around.
Yeah. 4th level, feat. You gain
feat.
the ability score improvement feat or another feat of your choice.
So ability score improvement is
It's a feat.
a feat. That's actually not a terrible way of organizing that.
So you just get a feat. They would highly recommend you take the ability score improvement feat, but technically you can pick another one if you want.
So in D&D in general now, instead of you can improve your ability score or take a feat, that's just one of the many feat you can take.
Yes.
I like that. Cool.
And it's
Just
the
simples.
exact same. It's raise it by 2 or raise 2 of your skills by 1. It's exactly the same.
Oh, I forgot the word simplify. As I said, it simples.
It's simple.
It really simples it.
But you simpled the word simplify.
That's so true.
Why say big word?
When small word do trick.
5th level, Jack of all trades. My name's Thomas. Thomas of all trades.
Interesting.
You can add half your proficiency bonus round down to any ability check you make that uses a skill proficiency you lack and that doesn't otherwise use your proficiency bonus. For example, if you make a strength check, athletics, and lack athletics proficiency, you can add half your proficiency bonus to the check.
Weird.
That's interesting because that's much later than the current player's handbook gets it.
5th level.
Yeah, you used to get that at 2nd level.
Yeah. 6th level, subclass feature. You gain a feature from your subclass. They're really breaking new ground here. 7th
Moving
level, font of Bardic Inspiration.
Is it Comic Sans? Because they form jests.
That's pretty good, actually. I like that.
Honestly, that's not too bad, Bean. That's pretty decent as a bard. As
I
far
have
as bard
died.
jokes go.
I have
As
been murdered.
far as scrolls back up the document, junguluring goes, it's not too bad.
It is pronounced jonglier.
Sure, if you say so.
Only if it's from the Jonglier region of France.
Otherwise, it's
It's
sparkling
just
clownery.
jester. Oh,
That's very good.
Font of Bardic Inspiration. You now regain all your expended uses of Bardic Inspiration when you finish a short or a long rest.
nice.
This has also been pushed back because if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, this originally was a 6th level ability.
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, so you're saying pushed back as in pushed forward.
Push back in the classic, you get it later.
Like back in time, like
This was 6th level?
this used to be 6th level. It has now been pushed back to 7th level.
You're just
I
looking
would-
at it from
I would
opposite
describe
directions. It's
that as
fair.
pushing
yeah,
forward.
yeah. Yeah, totally. Oryx is at the
Pushed
back
back
of
in time that it is achievable.
In addition, this is the important second part. If a creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die and gets a 1 after any re-rolls you might have, that use of your Bardic Inspiration isn't expended.
And this also makes a lot more sense when you are actively invoking it, not
Them.
them. Yeah.
Wait. If a creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die, aren't you the only
no,
one rolling your dice
No,
now?
you give them the die.
You
They're
still do
give
rolling
them,
them.
But
you give
in the
them it
moment.
as your reaction. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, aren't you the only one ever dealing with it?
And it says after any re-rolls you might have, that's a little hint at a different ability in the document.
Maybe.
Maybe there's something
This
that lets you
does
re-roll.
kind of, I mean, obviously it would be reworked in the new version, but this steps on the College of
Eloquence.
the College of Eloquence, because the whole thing about them is that like
It doesn't
if
get
you
used up.
if you don't succeed on the check, their inspiration doesn't get used up, so you can keep trying over and over again.
So interestingly, we were talking about this earlier, and it doesn't mean, like, it's not only if you fail, it is specifically a 1, because if they roll a 2 and they fail, it still does get used.
It still
Or if
gets
they
expended.
roll a 1 and that
And it
just ticks them over and
succeeds.
they pass, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
if all
you know
they
what?
needed was 1, technically they succeeded and you got it back. So that's pretty
So
good.
it's like a pseudo halfling luck
Yeah.
version of the
Sure.
School of Element.
It's weird. It's a fun little design space there.
And
I
Thomas,
do like it, though.
weren't you telling me that Wizards is trying it out? Did they release something saying like, okay, instead of the
Oh, in
D20
this-
giving you damn vantage?
Yes. In this document, they changed how heroic inspiration, DM inspiration as it was previously known, they changed how it works in this document as a response to feedback. And they said, going forward, what if you playtested getting DM inspiration or heroic inspiration on natural 1s instead of natural 20s?
And I think that this ability then for the Bard feels like it meshes more in terms of just general design philosophy with that version of DM inspiration.
Where it's like, if you fail miserably, there is still a glimmer of hope, instead of,
Right.
if you win more again.
And
Yeah.
that's true of a lot of other TTRPGs, that in failing, you get a boon for later.
So
So-
in a lot of
That's
RPGs,
basically how Call of Cthulhu is constructed.
Yeah,
It's
Sure,
the only
yeah,
way
yeah.
to level up.
in a lot of RPGs, you can purposefully fail to get a thing that's good for later, as like a cost benefit of like, I want to make myself look stupid at the party in front of everybody and be embarrassed, but that means I'll get this special token, which later I can use to do something I want to do.
Which I do like, because that means that when you roll and you fail, instead of just feeling like, well, that was not fun, you get something out of
get
it. There's
something.
something
Yeah.
to soften the blow.
For sure.
I mean, Critical Role has done several charities where every time they roll a natural 1, it like they pay $100 to a charity or something.
I've
like
been
that.
thinking about implementing that at my table, except it's that every time you roll a natural 1, you have to pay me $100.
Oh well,
What?
I can do that 2 times.
What the hell is Critical Role?
Well, it's when you're really nitpicky about
Small bread.
small bread. Yeah.
You're critical of rules. 8th level feat. You gain the ability score improvement feat or another feat of your choice.
Nice.
9th level, expertise. Again, the expertisening. You gain expertise in 2 of your skill proficiencies of your choice. 10th level.
Once again, they got rid of the other highly maligned bard ability, which was counter charm.
Yeah. Because
Which is-
name every time it's ever done anything. Oh, wait, I
Like-
can't.
Yeah, you have to spend your whole action to do it and a whole action to keep it up, and then it doesn't even protect your party all that well.
Yeah. 10th level, subclass feature. You get a feature from your subclass. 11th level. Now we're getting into it, boys. Magical secrets. Oh, yeah. Give me them secrets. You have collected magical knowledge from a
Hey,
wide...
Bean, can I sit over by you?
I was
fine.
wondering how you'd all respond to that. It took a second for it to sink in, really.
You can sit over here. I want to sit closer.
No.
Collected magical knowledge from a wide spectrum of disciplines. Really, disciplines are a spectrum. Choose a spell list, arcane, divine, or primal. Whenever you prepare spells for this class, up to 2 of the spells you prepare can be from the chosen list and from any school of magic. The prepared spells otherwise follow the rules of your bard spellcasting feature. So this is very different
Yeah.
to how magical secrets used
So
to work.
instead of stealing a specific spell, you can steal any 2 spells from one of these lists.
So you commit to the spell list. That can't ever change after you do it. But the 2 spells from the list, every day when you prepare your spells, you can pick 2 different spells from that same list as long as
And
they're
they
on
can
that
be
list.
they can be of any
Of
level
any.
that you can prepare.
So if
So
you
basically, you're kind of just adding another
You're adding another spell
entire
list.
spell list, an open book of spell lists you can just pick and choose from, like a buffet, kind of every single day. Whereas originally it was you pick the 2 magical secret spells, and you those are the ones you have.
And this
And
could
you
do
can
a
actually
lot.
never replace them.
Yeah.
This can do a
This
lot to
can
change
do-
the flavor of your bard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it still lets you do the classic, because you can take, even though you can cast arcane spells already, you couldn't cast any except for illusion, enchantment, whatever, right? You couldn't do evocation, you couldn't do necromancy, you couldn't do abjuration. So if you take arcane for your magical secrets,
You can
now
do evocation.
you can pick fireball, you can pick counterspell, you can pick raise dead, whatever, instead of having to specifically pick those out. You now also get you can take counterspell, and if you ever feel like you don't need counterspell, you're not going to face a bunch of spellcasters today, just get
You're fighting the barbarian tribe.
get a different arcane spell for that day. And that's huge. Honestly, I think it might even be like too good. It's really good.
Yeah, that's a little.
You become so
It's
flexible,
spicy.
It's very spicy. as the
especially
bard
because
is.
later on you get another list. 12th level feat. You get another feat. Ability score improvement or another feat. 14th level
Or feat.
subclass feature. You get 15th level. Further magical secrets. Your understanding of magic has grown even broader. Choose a spell list, arcane, divine, or primal, that you didn't choose for your magical secrets feature.
Ourath, I'm gonna come sit back by you.
Whenever you prepare your bard spells, 2 of the spells you prepare can be from the chosen list and from any school of magic. And the prepared spells otherwise follow the rules of your bard spellcasting feature. So as a random example, if you picked divine for your first magical secrets and primal for this magical secrets, you can already cast a large chunk of the arcane spell list, just not certain schools of it. Every day you can more or less pick 4 spells from across the entire book that you feel like having for that day. That's pretty wild.
That
it
is.
is.
Oh, sorry.
It is to clarify though. From what I'm seeing here, if you picked divine for one and you picked primal for the other, you can still only pick 2 divine spells and
Yes.
2
Yes.
primal spells.
That is correct. So it has to be 2 from each of them. That is correct.
You're not getting just more divine spells. You're getting primal or arcane.
Yeah, and you can't pick the same one twice, so you can't have 4 divine spells at the end of it. You have to pick a different one.
I do wonder if this is going to make preparing your spells for the day a whole thing.
I mean, for the bard that chooses divine and primal, yeah, he knows
Yeah.
all of magic.
I mean, it's
That's
a trade-off.
a lot. That's
But
just
also
a
you
clunky
only-
hassle, I think, to do
Possible.
from a meta perspective.
But also, you only have to think of it as 2 spells from each. You just pick 2 spells every day from each one of those. You find one you like, you find a second one you like, you're done.
But you look through all of them and then pick
Not
the 2 that you
everyone-
want. Because
Not everyone can read, Mercy.
Oh, that's so true.
That wasn't where I was.
And that's totally fair. I will say, as someone who's played a bard and a lore bard for a while, especially, personally, I think this fits that fantasy even better than the current lore bard in D&D, because I wanted to be able to every day pick a random spell from a far corner of the player's handbook and be like, today I happen to know this spell. Just like weird that I know it, right? And I love that vibe of as a bard, you just know a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of everything all the time. I don't know. Tomorrow I could know how to cast this completely random spell that's never come up before. It lets you really play with the spell lists. And I think that if you go at it with that mentality, it won't feel like a burden of like, now I have to read every single spell in the whole book. It's just that in your off time, you're always finding fun new spells to try out and be like, ooh, tomorrow I'm going to try this spell out. That'll be fun. Personally.
So
Some people
here's
like all the reading and, reading and adding and paperwork. Some people are there for
That's
it.
true. That's true.
So here's my wild take.
Okay, hit me with it.
Hold on. I gotta find my seatbelt.
Okay, yeah, strap
Okay.
in.
Yeah.
I'm super torn on known and prepared casting because I think that in the game as is, where some have one and some have the other, prepared casting feels better in a way that almost feels imbalanced. And maybe that's wrong, but that's just like the impression that I've gotten, how it's felt to me. But I do think it's clunky just in terms of slowing down what can already be a very slow game in a lot of ways, in a lot of sections, in a way that's not necessarily fun. Like, especially when you are newer to D&D, like trying to look through all of the wizard spells or all of the druid spells
multiple times
and you feel like you're holding everybody else up because most people don't have a bunch to do between long rests. So everybody else is just like, okay, I long rested, let's go. And you're like, I'm gonna need 15 to 20 business minutes to figure this out. I feel like that's not great. But at the same time, I do think that the flexibility of having so many more spells to pick from is a good thing. And I wonder if the solution there is to just give the classes that are gnome casters just more spells instead of making them prepared, because it's also always kind of bothered me, and I'm curious how this plays out in y'all's minds, because it's always kind of bothered me from a narrative perspective when I've typically had something prepared and then I don't have it prepared one day because I wanted to try something else, and then somebody goes, oh no, quick, cast this thing, and then you say, I forgot how to do it today. I forgot to do my homework. It's like, what does it mean when I say I'm preparing the spell? What is my character doing to prepare their spell? And especially for a bard, I forgot that song. To me, I would almost think that bards should, if they're going to be, I mean, honestly, no nor prepared casters, I almost feel like they should have the wizard ability to find new spells in the world. Maybe they should be known casters, but find new spells in the world they can add to their repertoire as learning new songs.
Interesting.
Where I think
idea.
that's cooler, because if that's the flavor of a bard casting a spell, which I know it doesn't have to be, obviously, but if that's the idea, I love the idea of this bard who travels the world collecting these songs and stories and poems that they've memorized and they can retell to great effect. And so I feel like they should be traveling the world learning new songs and adding them to their memorized repertoire. And what is happening when you say you're preparing a spell character-wise?
I can just picture now a bard in like an old Indiana Jones like temple dusting off a tablet. He's like, it's here. After all these years, I've found it. And they're like, what is it? Is it some sort of magic item? Can it, summon a great demon? He's like, no, it's the sheet music for Through the Fire and Flames. I can cast Meteor Swarm now.
But so basically the gist I'm getting, and this is kind of like how I felt a little bit about it, but I'm willing to see how it shakes out, is the problem they're trying to solve, at least what Jeremy Crawford said in the video they released like the day before this.
Yeah,
is the
I've
problem
heard of him.
The problem they're trying to solve by making everyone a prepared caster is kind of resolving that issue of new player picking find traps and then realizing find traps doesn't do what they thought it did, or it is a useless literal trap of a spell, but oops, they're a ranger, they can't change their spell list until they level up again. So what they're trying to resolve is that feeling of making a wrong choice. But I think I agree with Mercy, is that they've kind of thrown the baby out with the bathwater by just going the exact opposite direction and being everyone can prepare all spells always forever whenever they want is kind of maybe a little bit of overkill.
I almost wish you
perhaps a happy medium somewhere in between is maybe something akin to like the Tasha's alternate rules, where it's like something along the lines of like, hey, when you finish a long rest, you can switch out one of your spells. So it's not like a pure, full-on customizable. But if you're like, I'm not happy with Witch Bolt, you can be like, let me look at my first level spells and swap it out.
If you're committed to changing all your spells, you just have to spend a week doing it.
Yeah, and it's just like over time you can become a different person as you choose to be. But it's not as jarring as Mercy was talking about, with just, I have now become a new person overnight and I don't remember any of the magic I used to cast yesterday.
I think
I
Matt
like that
Mercer-
idea of swapping one out over a long rest. I like that a lot more.
Matt Mercer designed his own feat that's like kind of similar for prepared casters, where I think it's like you can use a spell slot to trade one of your prepared spells for a different spell.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think they
It's
used it in one of the newer campaigns.
It's something along those lines, and I always remembered liking that. Maybe it could just be as simple as like writing a suffix for DMs that just says like, "Hey DMs, while people are new, like let them
Give
switch,
them a freaking break.
like, let them switch." Or
Throw me a
maybe you
bone
write,
here.
maybe you literally write in the rules that during level 1, a player has a chance to, they can only do this, like maybe they can do this twice or maybe they can do this once, where they can trade one of their spells for a different spell.
Yeah, well, and I think in a perfect world, hopefully you're not level 1 for more than a session.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you level up, switch out all your spells if you want.
Yeah.
But then just on a long rest, maybe having one to switch out. I just feel like that'll speed it up so much more, so everyone's not just sitting around waiting for you to read through
Yeah.
500 spells.
We'll get to the end here, and we'll see how they've chosen to try and solve that. I don't think it's a perfect solution, and I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying, Mercy. But we'll see as we move on here. 16th level, feat, ability score, feat. 18th level, superior Bardic Inspiration. When you roll initiative, you regain 2 expended uses of your Bardic Inspiration.
Oh, cool.
That used to be the 20th level ability. Now it is the 18th level. Because all
Still kind of underwhelming as an 18th level ability, but it's there.
It really is.
I think that now that Bardic Inspiration can bring your friends back from the dead, it is a better ability now than it used to be. That's for sure.
That's fair. That's actually fair.
You can now, for sure, have 2 resurrects prepared, basically.
Two reaction speed resurrect.
Yeah.
Every combat, you get to bring 2 people back.
Yeah, pretty much. 19th level feat, gain an ability score improvement or another feat of your choice. 20th level epic boon.
Epic boon. Boom.
You gain the epic boon of luck feat or another epic boon feat of your choice. So how they're doing 20th level now.
Thomas, the human bard, what are boons?
So, what's a boon? Let me tell you. So, at 20th level now,
of accents this episode.
instead of having a predetermined 20th level capstone ability, you get to pick from the list of epic boons in this document, whichever one you feel like fits your character the best, or your build the best, or whatever. The suggested one for bards is the epic boon of luck. Epic boons currently do exist in the game. They are just in the DM's guide, and they are generally considered like, yeah, in higher tiers of play, if you, the DM, feel like you want to give a cool reward to a character, give them an epic boon. Maybe a god bestows upon them a special power, or whatever, right? Like, it's basically a non-class-based, non-subclass-based level up you can give as the DM to reward really high tier play. Once they're running out of other ways to get new rewards. In this document, let me just read, for example, what the Epic Boon of Luck does. Epic Boon of Luck, 20th level feat, prerequisite, expert group. Repeatable, no. Immediately after you roll a d20 for a d20 test, you can roll a d10 and add the number rolled to the test. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest.
That became a wall of sounds to me. Can you explain that differently?
So basically, not all epic boons are created equal, and that's another problem with them, is that they are not balanced against each other. One of them is sometimes you get a 1d... So like this one, it's a 1d10 you can add to a roll once per long rest. You're already a bard.
You already do that.
You already do that, and you already do that better. Whereas, like, there are other boons that are like, you are immune to fire damage.
But basically, this one says, at the start of combat, when you roll initiative, or when you finish a short or long rest, you get this moment of luck, right? It's the epic boon of luck, where when you really, really need to pass a test of some kind, like hit an attack roll or pass an ability check, you can add a d10 to the roll, increasing your chances of success by 5.25 or whatever. Like, pretty solidly, in addition to any other benefits you might get, like spells or class features that help you succeed at things more. And then you get that back next time you roll initiative or next rest you finish or whatever. So it's this, instead of like the lucky feat, it's a version of something similar, feeling like you really succeed when it matters. But you're not locked with that. As I said, you can also pick any other epic boon of your choice. So you can pick the one that makes you immune to fire damage, or the one that gives you an additional 30 feet of movement speed.
You can tailor it to your campaign and experience.
Yeah, there's one of them that says you only fail death saving throws if you roll a natural one. Otherwise, you succeed them.
So that's the one that everyone should pick, right?
It's
like, that's
really
the one
good.
that we
Especially
all-
at 20th level play.
that we all pick.
It's
yeah,
really good.
that's really good.
But that's the thing, is you can pick that one if you want to. Like, it's completely up to you which one to fit your character and how you feel their story should culminate.
I mean, it's nice. Yeah, like you said, like how their story should culminate in like, usually, especially by the time you're 20th level, your character has really become this like fully fleshed out person. And often you get to the capstone ability, like the 2 times I've gotten to level 20, I get to the capstone ability and it like doesn't really match.
Yeah, it fizzles out a little bit.
Either with like the vibe of my character or, oh, okay, thanks. That's not going to come up in this campaign.
Or the campaign's over now, and so
Yeah,
now it doesn't
honestly,
matter.
it's like, cool, I can now
So
do heavy things, but I'm done.
yeah, so that's why I personally really enjoy the concept. You know, the specific epic boons available, that's debatable. Like, they need to be, buffed or nerfed or whatever. Some of them are really good, some of them aren't as good. But the idea that you get to pick the culminating moment of your class of like, now that I've hit 20th level, my story has been all about whatever fantasy that I'm going for. Like, I am the pacifist who can always stop combat, who can always heal people, who can always convince people of stuff. There's probably an epic boon that feels like that character's final ability, and you get to pick that yourself. And I like that.
This also has different ramifications with moving everyone's 20th level capstone down to 18th level. That means if you don't particularly care about the epic boons, or you were more interested in those capstone features, whereas before, so for instance, if you wanted the barbarian's 20th level capstone feature, you couldn't multi-class. But now if you get it at 18th level, if this holds true for the rest of the
You
classes,
get 2 free multi-class levels.
you have 2 levels that you can multi-class into something else. That can get you action surge from the fighters. That can get you an entirely different. That can get you expertise and a fighting style that can get you sneak attack. I mean, 1d6, but to each their own. But yeah, like that can you don't have to lock yourself in, and you can feel that more customizable in your multiclassing, not just at your 20th level, because that's always the biggest thing, especially if you're planning for a long-term campaign like we have.
Yeah.
Is well, I don't want to multiclass out because I don't want to miss out on the capstone. And some capstones are not very engaging, and so multiclassing out of that class is easy.
And some are super brokenly good.
And some give you
Infinite hit points.
plus stats, yeah, forever.
Yeah. All right, that is all of the leveled abilities for the base Bard class. So here's the point at which I talk a little bit about the spells and talk about some of Mercy's problems with prepared spellcasters. Prepared Bard spells. This section provides recommended spells that you prepare at each Bard level. Look for your Bard level and prepare the levels for that level and all lower Bard levels.
For that level?
Yeah,
Level.
quite the sentence.
Spell level,
Which
character level, spell slot level. Don't worry about it. When you finish a long rest, you can change these spells as explained in the feature. The ones with the dagger are always prepared. Okay, so basically, if tomorrow you had to show up at my table with a 4th level Bard.
That's a dagger? I thought it was a plus.
If you had to show up at my table with a 4th level Bard and you're like, but how do I know what spells to pick? It's these ones. There it is. It's done for you. You pick all the spells from 1st level to 4th level, those are the ones I have prepared. Done. If I really want to customize and do some personal stuff, I can go in and choose every single spell individually, or I can take this as a sort of rule of thumb. Hey, what characters are we rolling up with tomorrow? 5th level? Okay, for my first session, just because I've never played a bard before, I'm going with the default prepared spells. Like, boom, done. I prepared my spells. I don't have to know anything about what any of these spells do, but I can trust that they'll make me a competent bard. And then as I keep going, I can be researching new bard spells and say, I'm going to swap out Calm Emotions for a different spell because I don't think Calm Emotions is good for my build. And then over time, build into what I want to be, with the freedom to always go back if I want. So I like this as a concept, but I definitely think it doesn't solve all the problems you were talking about. But I think this is a really good heads up for their design space of what if I want to start a D&D game not at 1st level.
Yeah.
Hey, we're playing a 10th level game. Oh, well, I've never played a wizard before, but I want to try a wizard out. It's going to take so long to pick all my spells and know what No. Look, go up to the 10th level where it says 10th level, and everyone up to that is the spells you have. We can fix it as we go if you don't like those spells. But it's already done the work is done for you. I like that.
Yeah, that's helpful to have.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's like the little tables that we often malign. But, where it's just like, if you don't have an idea of yourself, here, just borrow one of these.
Here's what a absolutely neutral, middle-of-the-road bard would have. And
it's not great. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's not, it will work. You'll be a bard, I can guarantee.
So the question is, does doing that need to be done by making bards prepared casters? Or can each class just have a list of suggested spells, and then maybe there is just something written for not for bards, for known spellcasters that's like a DM's note that says, hey, after 3, give them 3 sessions maybe, but after 3 sessions, your player can change up to however many spells, but they cannot change back until they level up.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think coming at it from 1st level, it wouldn't feel overwhelming to me. Because I would look at it says 1st level bard, Prestidigitation, Vicious Mockery, Color Spray, Disguise Self. That's a good enough starting point. And because prepared spellcasters can't shift around spell slot levels like we were talking about, I only ever have up to 4 cantrips to worry about at a time. I don't have to think about, do I want to give up some of my 1st level spells for 2nd level spells? Do I want to... It's always just, 3 1st level spells, and that's it.
I think it'll become where it becomes time consuming is the higher levels. Because I think when you're playing at 17th level, you feel like you should be optimizing for your exact situation because your whole party is so good at what you do now that you want to pick the perfect spells.
Sure.
And even though you're limited as to how many from each level you can prepare, you still have to, if you're trying to do that, you're still going to end up feeling like you should look through every spell for every level every time you have a long rest.
Even if I only have 1 6th level spell slot, I'm going to read every 6th level spell every long rest just to check to make sure I didn't miss one. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
And that won't be true for every player, but that's definitely true for me. And I doubt I'm perfectly the most unique specialist boy in that regard.
For sure. That is the bard. Now we look at the subclass, the College of Lore. College of Lore. Bards of the College of Lore know something about most things, collecting bits of knowledge from sources as diverse as scholarly tomes and peasant tales. Whether singing folk ballads in taverns or performing elaborate compositions in royal courts, these bards use their gifts to hold audiences spellbound. The college's members gather in libraries and sometimes in actual colleges, complete with classrooms and dormitories, to share their love.
What else do you do in college?
I thought it was going to say to
You
share.
thought regular college? Imagine a bard college.
I thought it was going to say their love of learning, but it says with one another, and it took me by surprise. Share their lore with
Share
one
their lore.
another. Oh my goodness. They also.
They're basically just describing arts college.
Yeah, true.
Bardic Arts College.
They also meet Bardic Bards College. They also meet at festivals, like the Radon Festival, or affairs of state, where they can expose corruption, unravel lies, and poke fun at self-important figures of authority.
Where they can expose each other.
Unravel each other's clothes,
Have
poke-
affairs.
poke
of
each other.
state.
Third level, bonus proficiencies. You gain 3 skill proficiencies, Arcana, History, and Nature. If you already have one of these proficiencies, choose a skill proficiency you lack, idiot, and gain that proficiency. It's weird. That's so aggressive of them. to
Yeah,
say
that's
idiot.
wow.
Yeah.
To say
Oh,
that?
so
wow.
so in the current handbook, this is just you get to pick 3 of any skills you want. But this one's saying it
get-
has to be these 3 skills. But if you're already proficient, then it can be anyone you want. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So they're definitely putting it more in that niche of like, no, you went to school.
You went
You
to...
are a nerd. You know this.
You have a high school diploma. Third level, cutting words. You learn how to use your wit to supernaturally
There is no H in that word.
to supernaturally distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence of others.
It's certainly sapping my confidence.
It's
what you
sapping
just
my
did.
competence. When a creature that you can see within 60 feet of yourself succeeds on an ability check or an attack roll, you can use your reaction to expend one of your uses of Bardic Inspiration, rolling a Bardic Inspiration die and subtracting the number rolled from the creature's roll, potentially turning it into a failure.
So your reaction's in competition for cutting words and Bardic Inspiration. You got to choose.
Yes, you do have to choose between them.
This used to be the Lore Bard's unique reaction ability, and now it is in direct conflict with the rest of your stuff. So if you've already helped your friend, you can't cutting words the enemy.
Did cutting words used to apply to ability checks as well?
So cutting words used to be this is pretty much just still cutting words.
It's about the
ability
same.
checks and attack rolls.
Okay.
A lot of people thought it was also saving throws, but it is
is
important
not
that it
saving
is not.
Yeah.
This does not say D20 test.
Yeah, it is not a D20 test, so it's not all of them.
6th level, Cunning Inspiration. Through your studies and your cunning, you've learned to inspire others exceptionally well. When any creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die, that creature can roll the die twice and use the higher of the 2 rolls.
So it's got like advantage,
You
basically.
get Bardic advantage, Bard
Inspiration
advantage,
Bad vantage.
Which
oh,
is
wait.
bad advantage.
The inspiration advantage is different from advantage inspiration. So
Yes,
you know.
yes, very different, very different.
Can anyone see the smoke coming out of my ears? Ugh.
10th level, Improved Cutting Words. Whenever you use your Cutting Words feature on a creature, you can deal psychic damage to that creature equal to the number rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die plus your Charisma modifier.
That's rad. I love that.
Not only did you not hit me, but also I hit you.
I mean, it is something. It falls into the my personal dislikes of it's just improving an ability you already had and not making it like drastically different. But there is something, as Bean has said, rad about making a person's head explode when they
Yeah.
tried to kill you.
Uno reverse,
Well, I
and then I
like-
stab you.
What I like about
It
it
is- it becomes
is
that, yeah.
it's a way of turning failed cutting words into still having a use. If
Oh,
you're
that's actually a good point.
if your cutting words wasn't enough to make them miss their attack roll, you still get a little damage in on them at least. Like there's something that you still succeeded. Which is, yeah, I mean, that's good. Instead of
It's
saying like, if your cutting words fails, you get it back or whatever. It's like, oh, well, just make it still be useful even when it fails.
And it's not one of those classes where like every single improvement is about cutting words. This is only the second one.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's true.
absolutely fair.
14th level, Peerless Skill. When you make an ability check and fail, idiot, you can expend 1 use of Bardic Inspiration, roll the Bardic Inspiration die, and add the number rolled to the ability check, potentially turning it into a success. If the check still fails, the Bardic Inspiration isn't expended.
So you can inspire yourself.
You can
Only
you can
on
keep
ability
one inspiration.
checks.
You can keep 1 inspiration as a treat.
as a treat for yourself.
You
But
can whisper the mantra your therapist gave you quietly before you try to pick the lock.
Look, I don't know if anyone else does this, but like if I'm alone in a dark building, I definitely like sing a song to myself as I'm leaving,
Hey.
and it inspires me to not be scared. It's totally a
That's
thing.
fine. That's
You know
fine.
what? You know what the song I sang was as a little kid when I was scared of the dark?
What was this? Please tell me.
Unironically, God is bigger than the boogeyman from
From
Veggie
the
Tales, singing
VeggieTales.
Time with Larry.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be something creepy like "Rain, Rain, Go Away" as you like walked
around
with
the
your
road
hair
Oh my
covering
gosh.
your
in
face.
a minor key.
I just remembered the other one I used to sing was also from Veggie Tales.
Look, VeggieTales had a grip on a certain demographic of people.
And that demographic was me.
I used to just
Look-
hum the Space Jam theme to myself.
Oh my, see, that's a good one.
Do your dance in the
Some-
Space Jam.
As you're crying.
Sometimes at my job, I'm in like a big dark building and I have to like leave by myself. And
We're adults.
so I always try to pick a song that would never fit the soundtrack, and I was like singing like boom, 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 boom.
You're like, no one's gonna murder me now. They'd be holding up their knife and then go, this isn't cinematic.
This isn't the right vibe.
I'm out of here. This sucks.
But I can't sing like
going home.
there is a place that I can go. Like
No.
I'm dead if I
No,
sing
you're
that.
dead,
You know,
yeah,
it just
already.
it makes it more creepy.
Well, Jungalours, thank you for listening.
Troubadours, jongleurs, ladies.
Thank you for listening to our episode where we discussed the Unearthed Arcana, expert classes, the Bard, College of Lore. If you want to stay up to date on all the coverage of the one D&D playtest material we have, please hit that subscribe button. And remember to like the video if you enjoyed it. And while you're down there, comment your favorite parts of the Bard class. What did you think about our takes? Do you think Bards should be prepared casters? Do you side with Mercy that maybe they should be finding spells out in the world? What do you think about how they've changed the Bard going forwards? And how do you feel about 1D&D in general? Let us know your thoughts. We're going to have further videos coming out covering the Ranger and the Rogue subclasses presented in this document, as well as a little bit on the feats presented, as they do present quite a lot of feats. It's a real feat lover's dream in this document.
You know,
And check out Ourath and share it with all your friends.
absolutely.
Yeah. If you have a homebrew you want us to discuss on the channel, please send it to us at our email, thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com, or on social media at thecopperfoxinn. And with that, we have reached the end of this Unearthed Arcana deep delve. We've made it out of the
Plot twist.
dungeon.
We were in a dungeon the whole time.
Guys, this dungeon's really dark. Can we sing a song?
Yeah,
It
so I've
smells
been
like
singing
the
Veggie
tavern.
Tales to myself the whole time.
Yeah, I think we might just be in the basement of the tavern and we got lost.
Oh, again?
Appropriate for the bard.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna sing Bahamut is bigger than Vecna.
Until next time, keep on adventuring.
And he's watching out for
We're gonna get content ID.
Can't sing songs from real things. They sue you for that. Say goodbye.
God is bigger than
Goodbye.
copyright infringement.